fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration, and what a difference a week makes. What a difference a week makes, man. All hell's broken loose this past week, hasn't it? We're going to talk about all of it today, and then some. I've got a lot of stuff to cover. It's going to be a long episode. Let me start this episode off by saying that Mr. James Henry will be the Concerned Letter Carriers, the CLC's candidate for president of the NELC. And that dude's a stud, let me tell you. I'll talk about that in just a second. I'll talk more about that in just a second. But it'll be James Henry will be the candidate for the CLC, all right? So I wanted to start this episode off with that right there. And I'm going to have him on. He'll talk about his positions in a later time, all right? What did y'all think about Mr. Noble? If you're being honest with yourself, what did y'all think about the interview with Mr. Noble? I know what I thought going into it, and him and I have not spoken. I think we talked on the phone briefly about how I'd get this set up with this Zoom meeting. But what did y'all think? If you're being honest with yourself, what did y'all think? I have to tell you, I was impressed. I was impressed. I know a lot of things have been said, and I have said a lot of those things. But I have to give it to the man. 78 years old, sat in here for 3 hours. That's part one. He's going to come back in September and finish that off because I've got just as many questions for the next time. But I had to say I was impressed, if I'm being honest with myself. And a lot of people reached out the same way. I put down on From 8 Arbitration, a Facebook page, and then also Reddit and Discord, I believe, that I will host a debate between Noble and Renfroe. I will host a debate on here. Questions from y'all, and then also questions they have for each other. They can submit those to me, and I'll ask those questions to each other. If they have corroborating evidence like Mr. Noble did, and we put that up on from8arbitration.com, if they have corroborating evidence, I'll put that up to prove who's right and who's wrong. Would y'all like to see that? I would. I think Noble would whip his ass in a debate after listening to him and listening to Renfroe. First off, I don't trust Renfroe to say anything that's accurate or truthful. I just don't. The guy's dishonest. But I think Noble would whip his ass in a debate. I just do. Call me crazy, but listening to both of them, I mean, the guy had his shit together. I have to give him that. And so, but I had a lot of great comments on that. A lot of people reached out about even those detractors that were talking about dudes that's going to get on here and be crazy. Even they had to say they were impressed. They were impressed. So I have part 2 of him in September, all right? And so I still got a lot of questions for him, a bunch of questions. Mr. Caref, Mr. Mike Caref, who has also launched a campaign to be the next president of the NELC. He will be on June 23rd. And I will put up on Reddit and Discord and From 8 Arbitration questions for him. So y'all make sure that y'all put in your questions for Mr. Mike Caref. Y'all know how I feel about that guy. I love that guy. I love Mike Caref deeply. And so he'll be on June 23rd. All right? I've got a lot of stuff I've had to write down. There's so much stuff has happened this past week. Man, it's been a zoo. It's been all over the place on social media, right? I am with the CLC ticket, the Concerned Letter Carriers. That is the ticket that I'm going to be on. I'm going to be running for business agent of Region 8, and I will be on that ticket. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. I told you, the lions are coming, and I wasn't bullshitting. I didn't say the lion was coming. That's singular. I said the lions are coming, and nothing is going to stop that ticket. Nothing. So don't be discouraged by anything that you're seeing or reading or hearing. And I'm going to clear up some shit in just a minute that's kind of pissed me off a little bit about some people talking about the CLC by things that I know to be fact. okay? But I will be with the CLC ticket. I love Mike to death, right? And I hate that has happened that way, that he's gone his own way. But the man has a right, if he wants to run for president and he wasn't going to be the elect for the CLC, he has every bit right to do that, okay? New podcast, Delivering Solidarity, is out. Anytime there's a new podcast and they reach out to me, I'm going to tell you about it. Delivering Solidarity. It's out, okay? So make sure y'all listen to that. I believe he had Mr. Renfroe on the other day. And it's hard for me to listen to that because dude just can't tell the truth. So, and it's usually the same spiel about contract, what's going on, and, still nothing. But I just can't listen to the guy much because he's just so damn untruthful. It just is. I can't stand it. Mr. Jeremy McCall has updated the Arbitration.com website. Check it out. That dude is magical. He is straight up money. And so he has updated the Arbitration.com website. I cannot thank him enough. It looks beautiful. There's so many great resources on there, how he's doing that. I couldn't do that. If somebody had a gun to my head, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't know the first damn thing. And so, Jeremy, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for doing that, man. It looks really, really good. It's fantastic. He's going to be the one doing the CLC website, all right? And so you know it's going to be first class. Mr. Nicholas Vafiades, I interviewed him today. Well, I didn't interview him. He came on. We had a Zoom, recorded that. It will be on this episode, okay? After I finish talking, hopefully I'm not going to talk too much. But after that, it will be Mr. Nicholas Vafiades, and he did a very good job. Much respect to that guy for coming on here. I can only imagine the heat he took from some of those at National and the Executive Council for saying he's going to come on here. First, for recognizing me as being anything other than somebody gets on here and bloviates and talks shit. That recognition, I'm sure, they didn't appreciate. But he was a man of his word. He messaged me immediately after I went off, and he said, hey, I want to be on there. And so he was on here. He was on a Zoom. I recorded that. I pray to God it came out. It took me probably 20-something minutes to figure that out. I had to call Cole Billups. That's how bad it was. I had to call him to get him to help me. I pray that came out. But he took his time. I didn't interrupt him. He took his time to tell his position. And so... and I told him I loved him for it, appreciated the hell out of it, and asked him just a few questions and expressed my opinion, okay? And that's all that is my opinion. But he did a great job. I really appreciate him coming on. It's a Sunday. I know he works 7 days a week. Last thing he wants to do is come on here and talk to me about justifying his vote. But he did. He did. I give it to him. So he did a great job. And I'll have, like I said, it'll be on the end of this episode, okay? So y'all make sure y'all listen to that. I want to talk about, there's so many screenshots that I'm going to try to weave into this episode as I'm talking about certain things, okay? The CLC, what happened between the CLC and Mr. Caref. I was kind of in the know a little bit about what happened. And I know there's been a lot of misinformation out there about what happened. A lot of misinformation. I'm going to tell you exactly what I know. All right? I'm going to be transparent as hell. A lot of people question the transparency of the CLC. That's the reason I'm doing this, is because that pisses me the fuck off. And I've been pissed off all fucking week about it, because there are people that are telling y'all things that are not true. Okay? And I know these things to be true, and people need to be careful when text messages are involved, because it's very easily proven when text messages are involved. Now, you got to remember, you're dealing with high-level union people here. High-level union people that deal with building case files and understand the importance of building case files. So when text messages are involved, you have to be very careful what you say. Okay? I know this to be true. Mr. Henry and Mr. Caref were the top two choices. Those were the ones who came to the top. from the very beginning, we kind of knew as a committee. They reached out to me, the CLC, certain members, when they were getting started, reached out to me and kind of gauged my interest. Now, what I want when we're talking about an executive council union, what I want, first off, you've got to love the city letter carrier, and I say that, and I will always say that. First off, you have to love us in light blue. That's first and foremost, right? I want to know that you're going to fight for us. And your history will tell you that. Resumes are good, right? Because they will kind of give you a kind of a roadmap of what this individual has done. Renfroe had no resume. We kind of they put it on us last second. We had to hope that Mr. Rolando was, knowledgeable about the decision. Renfroe has no resume on this workroom floor. Now, he's been at National, kissing ass up there for a while. And so that's basically all we had to go on. Now we have an opportunity going up to this election to look at resumes, and that's what y'all need to do. Don't base your vote off of what somebody tells you, especially me. Make sure you look at resumes and people. They will be on here. And vote off of that, okay? Vote off of that. But the CLC came to me and gauged my interest, told me kind of who was on, who they had kind of gathered to be on the CLC committees and whatnot. In Jacksonville at the COP, we had a meeting. All of us were there. And I'm looking around the room. I'm seeing some fucking juggernauts as far as branch presidents, heavy hitters. Other people that are on the executive council now were on there, heavy hitters. Mr. Caref and I were there and kind of came up with a little game plan. It was immediately known that the two that were going to be kind of running for that would be James Henry and Mike Caref, okay? As this goes on, there was one individual who's kind of pressing for there to be a vote. Who's going to be the president? Who are we going to pick to be that? And then all these other pieces of the puzzle will fall into place. So they're pressing this vote, per se. And they want the committee. There's a committee of 7. JB, Jason Leith, is on that committee. This committee is nationwide. It's not all from California. It's nationwide. So the committee gets together and they call these two individuals. These two individuals have no idea what's going on. They call these two individuals and they have a vote right there on the spot. A recommendation vote. Who is it that we're going to recommend to be the president? The one that the CLC is going to carry forward. And one individual won that unanimously. Every member voted unanimously for this. Listen to this now. Listen, because this is where everybody's getting fucked up, and it pisses me the fuck off. The one who did not get any votes reaches out to everyone, saying, I fully support that. I'm going to get behind this person 100%. And this is who we're going to get. This is who we're going to be behind. Whatever he needs me to do in whatever capacity, I'm going to do it. And that was that. So there's no need to get involved with anything else. That was a recommendation. But when this individual said, hey, I support it 100%. I support what y'all are doing. I support that committee's recommendation. And I'm going to get behind this individual. Let's go forward. That was that. That was that. Then there's this Zoom meeting later on. And the committee was blindsided with, I no longer feel that way. I no longer feel that way. I want something else. I want a vote between everybody. Because I take all that stuff back that I said. And so Mr. Henry was obviously taken aback. Several others were taken aback because, like I said, text messages were involved and everything like that. So it kind of put them on their heels a little bit. So they say, all right, we're going to put our platforms together. both individuals. We'll put whatever your platform is going to be, we're going to put those together. We're going to submit those on the 31st. And then after that, we'll look at these platforms, and then we'll go from there, right? While this is happening, this one individual gets a website and saying that he's running for president. So, people are kind of talking about that. Then these platforms are put in. And this individual immediately puts out a YouTube video saying, I'm, running for president, blah, blah, blah. Didn't wait for the platform vote. So everybody's kind of up in there like, what in the fuck is going on here? And so then the CLC decides, hey, it's time to move on here. There's a lot of just fucked up craziness going on. So we're going to choose Mr. Henry. Okay? Now, I'll say this. I think the world of Mike Caref. I think the world of him. And y'all know that. He's been on here. The son of a bitch knows his stuff, right? This was fucked up from the very fucking beginning how all this went. And it was not the CLC's fault. I don't care who tells you it is. It was not, because things were said. Text messages were sent. Phone calls were made where somebody conceded that and said, I am behind y'all 100%. Let's move. Let's go forward. Let's ride. And then that completely reversed. So he'll be on here on the 23rd. Like I said, dude's one of my great friends. And whenever I see him, I'll tell him I love him. But how that was handled, fucked up. Fucked up. But you will not blame the CLC for that. I know that for a fact. If it was the CLC's fault, y'all know me, I would say, we have fucked that up. That's not what happened. I remember when my brother, when he was diagnosed with cancer, you couldn't tell it. He looked the same. Matter of fact, we couldn't believe it. And so cancer is crazy how it works. You can't tell on the outside that somebody has cancer. Cancer destroys you from the inside, right? It attacks the body on the inside. And you've got to cut that out early. If you don't, it will kill you and anything that's inside. That's what happened here. Whether it was meant to be that way or not, cancer had tried to set in on the CLC, and it had to be cut out. There were things that were going on that I did not appreciate. My name was being associated on social media with things. I did not appreciate that. I speak for myself. Nobody will ever speak for me. Nobody. The CLC had to cut out that cancer. And that's what they did. That's what they did. CLC's going to be fine. I'm telling you now, it will be overwhelming in 2 years, the vote. People think that, you had 3, you may have 4, 5, or 6 people run. Because this president is done. I know that. He's out. And people are like, won't you be taking votes from him? I think he got, how many votes did he get last time? 37,000? I can't remember what it was, but nobody voted for him. Right? The CLC will win this election, hands down. I wish that Mr. Caref was on the ticket. I will always wish that, because I love that guy. I think he's a fucking beast, and that's exactly what I told him in our phone call after that committee voted. I said, I think you're a fucking beast, and I want you on this ticket. Man to man, I want you on this ticket. And it just didn't happen. Just didn't happen. When I look at a ticket, I want you to surround yourself with fucking beasts. I want them to be lions. And that's just the way it is. When I'm business agent, I'm going to surround myself with lions. That's what I'm going to do. This union needs to surround itself with lions as far as business agents, Formal A's, branch presidents, shop stewards, when I talk about this core group. Surround yourself with those individuals that do nothing but fight and know how to devour shit. When I say I'm a lion doing lion type shit, that's what I'm talking about. Everything I do when it's with the NLC is lion type shit. That's what we need to surround ourselves with. And the CLC is going to do that. We're going to be fine. I promise you that. We're going to be fine. But you look at James Henry, and I'm going to talk a little bit about him. And he's going to talk for himself on here. When you talk about lions, I had that episode back when I talked about when Lou Drass, I had my mentor, Lou Drass, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But in episode 53, I talked about my mentor, Lou Drass, and I also talked about the wolf, James Henry. And those in the know, those that have done arbitrations for any period of time, knew of the prowess of James Henry in that setting. So when you look at James Henry, if you say, I'm going to vote for James Henry because he's going to be the first African-American president in the LC, you have missed everything, if that's what you're going to say. If you're going to say, I'm going to vote for him because he'll be the very first African-American president of the NLC, you're missing everything. You're missing it all. You have got to look at this guy's resume and put it up against anybody else's. It smashes Renfroe's. Renfroe's resume is on a piece of notebook paper. That's it. It can be put on a Post-it note. But what pisses me off about all this is you have Mr. Henry, who has no intention of working at National. He wasn't one of those that dreamed about it for all these years working at National. He was minding his business in California. And Fred Rolando reaches out to him to ask him to be on the ticket. You ask him that because you're needing to support Renfroe's weaknesses, which are many, right? Renfroe's lack of arbitration experience. He had one arbitration. And Henry's got one of the greatest winning percentages in NELC history. Leadership. Renfroe lacks that, still does, and he's the worst leader we've ever had. But you have, an individual that was in the Marines, a gunny sergeant. So which tells you what? Here's an individual, when you talk about the Marines, they're the first into action, right? When you sign up to be a Marine, you know you're going to be first into action. And so he did that. He was a Marine. My father was a Marine. And so I know all about him. So here you have an individual who says, hey, I'm going to enlist into the Marine Corps. I'll be first in action. Made it to gunny sergeant. And then, which tells you he knows how to be a leader of men, right? So that's another advantage that they have with putting him on the ticket. Arbitration experience. When you have an arbitration record like he does, it means what? That you're able to persuade people at a high level. Highly educated individuals that are arbitrators, you're able to persuade them that you're right. If you think that every case he took in there was a winner, you're crazy. That's just not how it works. But he was able to persuade people at a high level that we're right and this multi-billion-dollar company is wrong. Okay? He's a leader of men. So these are things that they need on this ticket to help Renfroe. And Renfroe immediately stabs him in the back. That talks about character. Stabs him in the back. Now here you have a guy in Renfroe who refuses to fight. Right? And I'm going to read some things to you. Kind of the difference between the two. All right? I read a while back a letter that somebody had written Mr. Renfroe about the GPS, about us being monitored. Okay? Outside of the TRAP memos, outside of that process, how do you feel about them monitoring us? Because it's caused a rash of shit on us. Them opening the door on these memos for us to be monitored with a scanner. We have fought that so hard, and I've talked about that so many times. We fought that so many times and so hard about them not being able to track us with these scanners. And then they put it on these memos. And he refuses to say that they can't. That they can't monitor us outside of these memos. So somebody writes him another letter. This is another individual asking him about monitoring us outside of these memos. With management, how they're doing us now with stationary events and activity reports, coming on the street now, measuring our mail and all this shit. The can of shit is opened up by doing that shit on these memos. So somebody else reached out to him and wrote a letter about it. What is he going to do about them monitoring us outside these memos? And here's what he says. This just came down. Dear Sister So-and-so, this follows your email received April 14th of 2024 regarding concerns about the use of GPS data and location tracking of city letter carriers. Thank you for writing. Regarding the Postal Service's use of GPS tracking to monitor carriers, I hear and understand your concerns. I can certainly appreciate how distressing it may be for carriers to have technology and GPS data follow you throughout your workday. Electronic monitoring of carrier activities using GPS data may seem unnecessary, disrespectful, and threatening to some carriers. However, I would remind you that one benefit of the technology is that USPS management can now see exactly how hard carriers work every minute of the day. This technology also allows the evaluation teams to see if carriers routinely skip or shorten their lunch and breaks, and then take this into consideration when evaluating the route. Additionally, near real-time tracking of parcel delivery allows USPS to remain competitive in the marketplace. Private sector companies have been using this type of technology for many years to provide customers with a status of their upcoming activities or pending deliveries. GPS tracking has routinely been used for things like pizza delivery, anticipated arrival of repair technicians, and rideshare services, just to name a few. It is well documented that today's customers have come to expect these types of real-time updates and information. I recognize that the constant digital observation of hard-working letter carriers may seem like a violation of privacy and make some carriers uncomfortable. It's apparent the use of this technology benefits our customers and increases revenue for the Postal Service. It also aids carriers by creating a less intrusive, fair evaluation and adjustment of their routes. Overall, I think the benefits outweigh the negatives. Thank you for your service as a letter carrier. Please feel free to contact me anytime. Sincerely, fraternally, Brian Renfroe. Now, here's a guy who just doesn't fucking get it. He just doesn't fucking get it. He doesn't understand, obviously, what in the fuck we're talking about. When we're talking about being monitored, the abuse that's going on right now on the workroom floor over stationary events, the constant badgering and harassment that this is causing, he doesn't get it. We are the only craft. Every second of our day is monitored. From the time we clock on to the time we clock off, we are being watched. No other craft in the country is that's happening to, and it's because of our dumbass president. This dumb fucker couldn't understand this right here. I'm going to read this again. Just part of it. Regarding the Postal Service's use of GPS tracking and to monitor carriers, I hear and understand your concerns. I can certainly appreciate how distressing it may be for carriers to have technology and GPS data follow you throughout your workday. Look here, you dumb son of a bitch. Address 134. Somebody please ask this dumb fucker to address 134 of the M39 handbook, spying using covert techniques, how they can't do it. Somebody please ask him, is that still relevant? Now that the TRAP memos have gone by the wayside, what does he feel about it now? Ask him now what his opinion is on GPS tracking, on them tracking us. We're not talking about tracking packages, you dumb shit. We're not talking about delivering pizza, you dumbass. We're talking about the harassment, unprecedented harassment of city letter carriers based off of this shit here. You do not get it. It's because your ass hadn't been on this workroom floor. You're not listening to the city letter carrier. You're listening to dumbasses up there, probably from the Postal Service, talking about the benefits. We're not talking about that. Now, here's when we talk about the proposals. Here's James Henry's proposal. All right? Hostile work environment abatement. The use of electronic supervision has caused a significant decline in our working condition as it given management tools to covertly conduct street observations. It's not that our current leadership doesn't recognize the daily torment caused by electronic supervision. It's that they chose to ignore it and view it as a mere inconvenience. We will establish firm contract provisions which forbid the use of any kind of electronic device to supervise, conduct observations, or use for discipline. That's my president. That's James Henry. That's my president. That's somebody who gets it. The contrast between those two is somebody who has spent time on this floor, James Henry, somebody who spent time doing nothing but sucking a motherfucker's ass to get up to national. That's Renfroe. You heard, I read it twice, his response about the inconvenience. You know, pizza people do that, and people come to work on your house do that. And so what about the constant abuse, you dumb shit? Listen again to, here's James Henry's proposal. Hostile work environment abatement. The use of electronic supervision has caused a significant decline in our working conditions and has given management tools to covertly conduct street observations. It's not that our current leadership doesn't recognize the daily torment caused by electronic supervision. It's that they choose to ignore it and view it as a mere inconvenience. That's somebody who gets it. That's the difference. When I talk about spending time on this floor, James Henry hadn't been sitting at National for 30 years, picking his ass. This dude's been in the streets. He's been in the battles. The arbitration record speaks volumes about that. Renfroe should have never been in there. James Henry is my dog. That's who I'm going to support, somebody who gets it. This bitch, and yes, yeah, I'm going to say that forever, right? I've told y'all about that. Based on what he called Susie Miller, my friend. So I will call him whatever the fuck I want. Like it, don't like it, I don't give a damn. But this bitch, and listen here, with Mr. Henry running for president, when I talk about Renfroe and I say, this bitch here, hey, he's not the only bitch in the room, right? This motherfucker ain't the only bitch in the room. Karma's in that room, motherfucker. And that's the biggest bitch there is. Karma's the biggest bitch we have. And you fixing to reap that. The way you treated Mr. Henry, you fixing to reap that, motherfucker. Karma is the biggest bitch we have. So you're not the only bitch in the room, son. Karma's in there with you. And you're going to reap that. You're going to reap that. I promise you that. You have fucked with the wrong dog here. You have fucked with the wrong dog, baby. And it is coming up to bite you in your ass. And I cannot wait. The shit that you have done to my people. The stress that you have caused my people. The harassment that's been going on because of you. What you have done. Your inability to acknowledge the fuckery that you are. Karma's in there with you, motherfucker. You ain't the only bitch in there, motherfucker. Karma's in there with you. And like I said, karma's the biggest bitch there is. It's the biggest bitch there is. And you fixing to reap the whirlwind on it. And I can't wait. The shit that you've done to my people is unforgivable. Is unfucking forgivable. The CLC's coming. The CLC's coming. Nobody can sidetrack what's coming. Nobody can hurt what's coming. It's coming. It's happening. Or my name wouldn't be on it. My name wouldn't be on it. The establishment's going to come out and try to protect the establishment. That's just the way it is. That's how it's going to be. You've got to understand when you go into elections, that's how it's going to be. The establishment will try to tear you down, right? They're going to try to pick you apart. We're immune to that. We're immune to that. I want to tell you something. It may not be true, but it's just something I'm hearing. In that episode, when I talk about Mr. Lou Drass, my mentor, and then I talk about the wolf, James Henry. When Lou Drass was stabbed in the back by Renfroe. Now, Renfroe, he rode Lou Drass's coattails, right? And then him and Rolando get together, and they stab Lou in the back, and Lou's out. He's gone. I talked to Lou. I called him, and I said, hey, and he can't deny this. I said, hey, I've got your back. I've got your back. If you want to run for president, whatever influence I've got, however little it is, I'll put it behind you. Dude is that smart. I've never met anybody as union smart as Lou Drass. He just, the motherfucker is all that to me. Always has been. I'll have your back, Lou, and I will support you however I can. Whatever I can do to support you, I'll do it. And he chose not to fight it. I'm not going to fight, okay? It's come back around to me lately that this same individual has told people that if Renfroe gets ousted in Boston, that he will run against Henry. And that if Renfroe doesn't get ousted, he will run against me. Now think about that. And this is the establishment in a nutshell. And if it's not true, I apologize. Here's the establishment in a nutshell. You got a guy that got stabbed in the back by this motherfucker at president. And he's wanting to take that knife out of his back and stick it in mine. Look, I don't, and understand this, please. I don't give a fuck who's running for business agent Region 8. I'm going to be the next business agent Region 8. That's a foregone conclusion. Whoever y'all want to send against me, come on. But I just think it's ironic that he gets stabbed in the back, and instead of going after them motherfuckers who did that to him, he's going to say he's going to run against me? Come on. You can get some too. And that's just the way it fucking is. But what are y'all going to do with the cat sitting in there now? What are you going to do with the cat sitting in the seat now in Region 8? What's he going to do? Y'all going to stab him in the back now? He's the one who stabbed me in the back in Chicago. Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all get what I'm saying? Hell, them motherfuckers, all they do is stab each other in the back. My business agent stabbed me in the back in Chicago. Now it looks like they're fixing to get him. Now, like I said, if that's not true, then I'll take all that back and I'll get on here and say it's not true. I think the world of Lou Drass. He was one of my biggest mentors. And still is. Hell, I still call him. And so, but if that's true, like I said, I'm going to be the next business agent Region 8. Nothing can stop that from happening either. Is it too much? Is it too much to ask my union to fight? Is it too much to ask for fighters to be in my union? I've said this a lot. I would rather you fight and lose than to not fight at all. When we're talking about hip training, I'd rather you fight that and lose than not fight it at all. When you talk about stationary events, I'd rather you fight that and lose than not fight at all. If y'all remember, I talked about when people say, I'm a fighter. Well, damn, were you any good? I never lost a fight. That's fucking impressive. Well, how many fights you been in? I've never been in a fight, but I've never lost one. But that's some of our people in the union right now. They refuse to fight. Therefore, they will never lose. And they'll turn around telling people, I've never lost. I'm going to read some things to you about what I'm talking about. And just the flat-out inexperience and ignorance of some individuals in these business agents' office. And here's things that are just sent to me, okay? These are things that are sent to me. Here's a pre-arb that came down. Now, this is certified in the DPS. And as a union, you've got to think outside the box. You know, if management's implementing something, why are they doing that? You've got to stop and think about that. Why are they doing that? These wire cages, why are they starting to do that? Certifieds in the DPS, why are they doing that? The wire cages, obviously, for the 22-minute load time. Take less trips. Certifieds in the DPS, hour office time. They're trying to get you out of the office in an hour. What can they do to cut that down? They're going to talk about however many minutes you have to inspect your vehicle. Let's take away their accountables. So we'll put all their certifieds in the DPS and take that time away from them in the office. I don't care if you get it on the street or not. If management's trying to implement something, I want to fuck that up. If they're trying to implement an hour office time, I'm going to do everything in my power to fuck that up. Right? If you're watching me on the street with GPS, I'm going to do everything I can to fuck that up. If you're telling me I've got so many minutes to load my vehicle, I'm going to fuck that up. Everything I can do, I'm going to do it to fuck that up. That's just how I've always been. I hate those motherfuckers that much. I despise them that fucking much. I'm going to do everything I can to fuck them up on every single thing that they do. I'm going to read this pre-arb to you, and this is what I'm talking about. This just came out. The undersigned representatives discussed the above-captioned grievance during a pre-arbitration conference. After a full review of the grievance file, we reached the following agreement. In this case, there's no violation. The M41 City Delivery Carrier's duties and responsibilities, Section 335.16, is clear on how to handle certified mail in the DPS. Section 335.16 states, and then it has that how you handle when certifieds show up in your DPS. Both management and city carriers will follow the language the above section of the M41 City Delivery Carrier's duties and responsibilities. So, here's somebody that files a grievance saying management's putting our certifieds on the DPS now, intentionally doing that. Why are they doing that? To take away our office time, and we don't fight it. We don't even fight it. We don't even put up a fight. That's what I'm talking about. You got to think, why are they doing things? That language in the M41 is in case there is one that has slipped through the cracks and has shown up in your DPS. Management is intentionally doing that. Right there, changing a work method. How did we handle certifieds for 100 years? That's an accountable item. We'll sign for those, and those will go out with us on the street. Management has changed that work method and has said, we're going to put the certifieds in the DPS now, and you'll handle those on the street. And we put up no fight. That's what I'm saying. Just give me some fighters. Give me some fighters. Here's the same region. Sent me this. When I'm talking about the JSOV cases. And this shows you the inexperience of some of these RAAs that have never put together a case file or never gone to arbitration on the joint statement. And this person said, hey, talks about the closing briefs in front of arbitrator Snow when he gave out his landmark decision on the joint statement. On my episodes, I talk about putting in management's closing brief and the union's closing brief. Put those in your case files. And here's what this RAA says. Not the post-hearing briefs because they're irrelevant. Those are just the positions of the parties and their summary of the hearing. This person said, okay, I was curious how it breaks it down. The decision is all that matters. Talking about Snow's decision. The decision is all that matters. I'm going to read this again. Not the post-hearing brief, because they're irrelevant. Those are just the positions of the parties in their summary of the hearing. Now, here's somebody who's so damn ignorant, they don't understand why you're putting in these briefs. Do you know what an arbitrator cannot do now? He can't go into that hearing with arbitrator Snow. He can't do that. It's over with. But you know what you can do? You put in these post-hearing briefs. Do you know why? Because what it's going to tell the arbitrator is this when you go over it. Every argument that management has today, they argued in those closing briefs. MSPB takes away the right to due process. All of those arguments management raised in their post-hearing briefs, and National Arbitrator Snow rejected every single one. That is why you put them in the file. And we have RAAs damaging our positions because of their ignorance and laziness not to educate themselves on why you do certain things. They're irrelevant? What are you talking about? Management still uses those arguments today that it takes away the manager's right to due process. They argued that in those closing briefs. Management still argues that management has no access to MSPB. They argued that in those closing briefs. National Arbitrator listened and rejected every one of those arguments. All right? That's the way you do things. Listen, the carriers are not the only ones that need to be educated in this union. We have fallen so far under this ignorant-ass president of ours. We have fallen so far that our RAAs are uneducated. They refuse to fight. Our business agents are uneducated and refuse to fight. This is example A, or exhibit A. They refuse to fight. They are too damn ignorant to understand how to build a case file. We are in trouble here. The NELC is a disaster here. Carriers are left to fend for themselves here because you have a president who's so damn stupid and his inability to fight, and I've called him a coward for so fucking long, I'm tired of it, but I'll call him that still. He's a fucking coward. And we are reaping this fucking whirlwind from management because of the cowardice at the top of this union. It is unlike anything I've ever seen. I have never seen anything like it before. And now ignorance has trickled down to our business agent's office and our RAAs who don't even understand the importance of putting things in case files and how you argue things. Here's something else, and these are just screenshots. This is the ignorance that's going on right now in management, and this is because our business agents have still not gotten out in the streets and educated our carriers at these offices and these union meetings when they have regional training, and they're completely irrelevant training that they're doing at these regional training sessions. None of it applies to the shit that's going on the workroom floor today. And this is the reason that these things happen right here. And I'm going to read just a few things to you, and then hopefully I'll be done. So in our office, they are telling carriers that they observe on the street that they should be doing a minimum of 100 steps per minute. They also told a carrier that her arm is moving too slow when she's doing mounted. They are pushing 1 hour office time and 18-minute load time. The 18 minutes started today. Do you know why that's happening? Now, it is kind of unfair to say it because you'll always have dumbass managers come in and they'll regurgitate anything they're fucking said. They can go to lunch with these other dumbass managers and they'll just say something like, I heard there's an 18-minute load time. And you got these dumb fuckers coming in there talking about 18-minute load time. So, our carriers are not educated. The carriers on the workroom floor are not educated. That should have been initiative 1. From the very beginning, educate the city letter carriers. These memos, I've said this so many times, I'm sick of it. When we knew that these memos were going to come out, when this dumb fucker put these times on the memos, national training should have happened. And business agents should have said, look, we got a president who's the dumbest fucker we've ever seen. And he's putting times on memos. Why? We don't know. It's because he's a dumbass. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to prepare everyone about these times. We're going to prepare everyone about these stationary events. Right? Because what we can't do is depend on our president to protect us. He's a dipshit. Thank God James Henry has said, look, I will do that. I will be that. And we're going to put an end to this shit as far as the inconvenience, as our president says, about the stationary events. But here you have somebody saying you should be doing a minimum of 100 steps per minute. There's no minimum of anything. As long as my foot is going in front of the other, that's my only requirement. That's my only requirement. As long as I'm breathing. I have no street standard. So that's a grievance. They also told her carrier that her arm is moving too slow when she's doing mounted. That's the ignorance of these managers. But hey, why not? Why wouldn't you do it? You know that our president is lost as last year's Easter egg up there in his office. When James Henry sits in that chair, it'll be the first time a man has sat in that chair for years. When James Henry sits his ass in the president's chair up there at National, it will be the first time a man has sat in that chair for years. Here's another one. I've got a sad thing to share. So I started doing Carrier Academy training. They put you through a 2-day course basically teaching the teacher. During that course, one of the 2 facilitators mentioned carriers now have to break the geofence in 90 minutes. Now, they're doing this in Carrier Academy. In 90 minutes. I raised my hand and asked, when did that change? I started not that long ago and don't remember that standard. The teacher replied, it's the new way of things. We were told that this is what we were supposed to share. And if management asks you why you couldn't meet the standards we set, you have to answer for it. Now, how's a business agent not in his car and sitting in that office the next day ripping a motherfucker's ass up? How's that not happening? You got trainers telling carriers that you got to be 90 minutes to break the geofence. When I tell you this shit is rampant, it's fucking rampant. I've never seen anything like it. Ever. Listen to this shit now. This shit here, it's hard for me to believe that this is true, but with the dumbassery I'm seeing now. Yesterday, our morning stand-up was about how we will not be getting paid for going over our DOAS projections, and that any time over the projections will be disallowed, and we will not be paid for said time. This came down from our area manager over Kansas and Missouri. And they already said, hey, they know this is a violation, blah, blah, blah. They're just informing the carriers that this is what was happening. So management's now saying, you're not going to be paid for going over your DOAS projections. God. This is the shit we're dealing with now on this working floor. Management just informed me that they will be focused on street inactivity. Currently one of the hot topics among district-level managers. I suspect this is the new term for a stationary event. It absolutely is. And we've been talking about that for the last few months. Rather than stationary event, street inactivity. But you're exactly right, sir. That's exactly what it is. Listen to this. Another disappointing day. Motherfucking management safety person comes into our station and proceeds to use Mr. Gates as an example of why safety is important. Exact quote. If Gates would have recognized his symptoms, he'd still be alive. You can about imagine the nuclear bomb going off in my eyes. I reminded carriers it was management that pulled him in a month before his death, and the scanner message, beat the heat, keep it moving. These bastards will not accept any responsibility, but again, when you see what our national president gets away with, why would they take responsibility? Later in the day, I get an email from the branch saying management had been directed to confront carriers about stationary events. When will National Union wake the fuck up and put an end to this? How convenient they're cracking down hard on stationary events at the beginning of summer. Fuckers are just asking for a carrier to die this summer. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And that, again, is the responsibility of our dumbass president. When Mr. Gates passed away, this sumbitch should have burned the city down. He should have been in these streets on fucking fire. And if you go back and listen to my episodes about Mr. Gates, I was on fucking fire. Because of how they did this man. And I said, they killed that man. when you bring somebody in with that kind of tenure who has never been in trouble before, looks like he's a pretty meek gentleman, just trying to get to retirement, and you discipline him on something that our president says is a fucking inconvenience, stationary events. Our president won't put up any fucking fight. As far as now, if you confront him now, he's like, "Oh yeah, if they issue discipline now, then yes, we will grieve that." And you know how stupid this motherfucker sounds. But rather than attacking this head on, when they did that, you see what happens now. Now here, when it's fixing to get to summer, they're talking about cracking down on stationary events. You know what that means? Watch out for your CCAs. Watch out for your CCAs. Take breaks as needed in the heat. They're going to start intimidating those CCAs. Y'all watch them. Protect them. Carriers, take breaks as needed in this heat. And if they start bullying carriers on this, file grievances under Article 14. Right? Look, our president is so fucking out of touch. This dumb shit said that we were just seeking a pound of flesh when our brother passed away. That's how dumb this motherfucker is. We're seeking a pound of flesh. Our brother's laying dead in somebody's front yard. Dead now. Fixing to retire. All of his time he spent as a city letter carrier in there with us, cutting up with us, probably dancing to music in there. How many birthday parties they celebrated in there. How many retirement parties he was part of, saying, "It's almost my time. It's almost my time to retire. All these people retiring, I'm almost there with you, so-and-so. Hey, we're going to get together. We're going to do this." And he's laying dead in somebody's front yard because of management's negligence. And this dumb bitch-ass president of ours says, what? We're wanting a pound of flesh? Do you see why you attack those things? Here today, somebody sends me something saying that a safety person comes in and says, it's his fault. It's his fault. After he passed away, what'd they say? We do hip training. We gave him hip training. It's his fault. Only to find out that was falsified as well. It's his fault. Safety comes in. It's his fault. And what's y'all's president say up there? It's an inconvenience. Y'all wanting a pound of flesh. This motherfucker's so out of touch. He can't be gone fast enough. His punk ass can't be gone fast enough. I'm so sick of this shit coming. This is 5% of what I get. Hell, I read something else. Fuck. My phone's full of these motherfuckers. I got a fucking 1,000 of them. Here's another one. This is an email. It's got about 800 people attached to this email. It's from management. The New Deal, actually, a couple of weeks old, but it isn't going away, and we can't bluff. Here's the story. Effective tomorrow. Normally this would be a Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday thing. See below. But this week it starts tomorrow. When this person is able to pull the data, the following will be in effect. Worst 5 offices in each POOM have to put together a Saturday plan for meeting the variance to 60 minutes office time requirements and the load time 20-minute standard. Let me read this again. Worst 5 offices in each POOM have put together a SAT plan for meeting the variance to 60-minute office time requirements and the load time 20-minute standard. Beginning next week, this individual will send out the Unfab 5 list on Tuesday. By Wednesday, close of business, he needs the following. What route, one minimum, will get an 1838 that Saturday? Who will be conducting load observations and how many findings documented? Which routes, 2 minimum, will be getting point-to-points on the street? The following Monday, those 5 are to report the results in an email to this individual and I. 1838, load ops, P2P, and of course the times. Let it be known, Saturday and Monday are the big days. If an op is on the 5 list twice in a row, the postmaster will be running Saturday AM ops until the op is making standard. Let me read that again. Let it be known, Saturday and Monday are the big days. If an op is on the 5 list twice in a row, the postmaster will be running Saturday AM ops until the op is making standard. Now, they just told you the 20-minute standard for loading, right? Where'd they get that from? Y'all know. You already know. Take it seriously. Get those CRs cleared. I have plans for Casper and Cheyenne this weekend, so 3 of you have to do this weekend. I have to report out Monday. Take this extremely seriously. We will discuss in the morning. Take it seriously, y'all. Take it seriously. Now, go in there and make sure that y'all are beating the shit out of those carriers for things that don't even fucking exist. 60-minute office time. 22-minute load time standard. They don't even fucking exist, and you got managers saying, take it seriously. If y'all don't, y'all are going to be working Saturdays. Where's the fight from our union, y'all? Where's the fight from our union? How is this shit still going on? How are we dropping the ball that fucking bad? Do you know why? Because you got a dumb fuck as president of this union who can't get out of his own fucking way. What in the fuck is he doing? How has he not sent out something saying, I want every city carrier in this country, every single one of them, had better understand no such thing as a 60-minute office time, no such thing as a 22-minute, 20 or 20-minute load time because my dumb ass put it on a fucking memo. If they're doing stuff with stationary events, file a grievance on their fucking ass about it. If they're bullying, harassing carriers based off of stationary events or inactivity of reports or whatever, file a fucking grievance on them. We're not going to be tethered to a scanner all fucking day. Where's that at? Where in the fuck is that? And you still got motherfuckers defending this piece of shit. Hell, you got motherfuckers that stabbed in the back talking about coming out of retirement to protect this dumb fucker. I'm going to read this. And to me, it's just comical. Did y'all see the movie The Signs with Mel Gibson? If you haven't, go watch it. It's M. Night Shyamalan movie, but it's a great movie. But in this movie, it's hysterical because Mel Gibson's a pastor, right? And I think he's retired. His wife was killed in a car wreck, and he kind of just lost faith, right? And so these aliens are coming down and attacking them. And they don't know it. They hear stuff on the roofs and shit, and so they don't know what it is. And so Mel Gibson, he's going to try to act like a hard ass, right? And he don't know how to cuss. And so he's trying to get his brother-in-law to teach him how to cuss and to be angry. And so when he goes out trying to be angry, he is so uncomfortable and so out of his element. It is absolutely hysterical because he just is. He's just the way I can't even do it. I would try to mimic it, but I can't. It's so funny because he runs out. He just, so angry. He's like, you're a son of a bitch, or whatever he says. It's because he's completely out of his element. He has no idea what he's doing. Right? He's just trying to be a hard ass. Here's something Renfroe wrote. And it's about noncompliance because that's eating his ass up right now. He has no idea how to combat that. Matter of fact, Noble gave a better answer about it than this dumbass did. But here's his answer to noncompliance. Finally, there is the ever-raging battle of getting the Postal Service to comply with the terms of our national agreement. The egregious and repetitive violations that we see in some locations around the country are unacceptable. I am fed up with it. Collective bargaining agreements, CBAs, establish work rules, hours, and more. The terms of a CBA are the way things are supposed to be. They are not optional for the employer. I am tired of hearing managers complain about the remedies we request in grievances where they have repetitively violated our agreement. Here's a suggestion for those managers who complain about remedies. Redirect the energy and time you spend complaining and do something to get your local supervisors and mangers, I'm sure he meant managers, to follow the terms of the agreement. Our union will continue to aggressively pursue justice for our members through the dispute resolution process. We also will pursue every possible avenue to end the blatant failure by postal managers in many locations to comply with our national agreement. We are demanding something very simple. Do what you agreed to do in collective bargaining. That's Mel Gibson running around the house trying to act hard as hell. He has no idea how to do it. Here's the problem, you dumbass. You've got Barner going around with this guy from labor, dragging his ass around by his ponytail, kicking the shit out of him about cease and desist and about escalated monetary awards. And you're going to say this? Get that motherfucker in line first. You want to talk about abiding by the CBAs? How about this? How about Article 19 via Section 134 of the M39 Handbook? Start there about spying and using covert techniques. Start on that one if you're going to talk about some shit. Go be hard somewhere else. We're not buying it. What are you going to do about it? We understand what the collective bargaining says. We deal with it every fucking day. What, as a president, are you going to do about the ever-growing issues of noncompliance? Noble told you exactly what he would do. What are you going to do? I need to have that debate. Wouldn't y'all like to hear that? I'd love to have that debate between those two. Noble and Renfroe on here from Arbitration. A debate. What are you going to do? Like I said, I will never have Renfroe on here again as far as just him. That motherfucker, he will lie just to fucking lie. I'm convinced of it. He don't know how anything other to do than to lie. That's all he knows how to do. Right? Okay. Yeah, that's way too. I thought I'd talk 30 minutes. It's been an hour. What's wrong with me? Damn it. Damn it. All right. Let's get to Mr. Nicholas Vafiedes, okay? He's going to be on here. I will not be on the other side of it after this, okay? So let's close up some stuff before I get off here and let you hear it from Mr. Nicholas Vafiedes. Brooklyn, Branch 41. I'm coming to see you Tuesday. We're going to show up and show out, all right? Brooklyn, Branch 41, President John Cruz. I'm coming up there to see y'all Tuesday, all right? And I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I said, what do you want me to talk about? They said, just talk shit. I was like, you got the right one. You got the right one. Because I can do that. I can talk shit. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm coming up to Brooklyn Tuesday, Branch 41. I'm going to see y'all. I cannot wait to see you. So y'all show up, man. We'll have a good time of it anyway. I'll just ad lib. How's that sound? I can't wait to get up there, though. I really can't. I love the people from y'all's branch, Richie Ray and Mr. Cruz. Great individuals, man. And I cannot wait to get up there to see y'all. So Brooklyn, it's my first time to New York now. So I need pizza. Y'all got to give me names of places to eat. All right, pizza. That's the only thing I want. You know, I don't care to sightsee. I want some of the best New York pizza. All right, I've never been there. I'm 54 years old. I've never been there. So I'm coming. Brooklyn, Branch 41, Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Sharp. Be there. All right. Discord and Reddit. Get on there. Hey, those things are generating a lot of activity. Okay. A lot of activity. So get on there. From arbitration.com, I talked about that. Mr. Jeremy McCall has updated that site. Looks really, really good. Okay. The CLC, Concerned Letter Carriers, on those sites, it has how you can donate now that you know who the president is going to be, Mr. James Henry. That ticket is still being formed. There are some who cannot be named now, if you know what I'm saying. There are some who cannot be named right now, but you already have some that are flat-out hell-raisers, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I really am. Proud to be a part of it. So CLC. That's going to be the next ticket at National. There's no doubt about it. There's no slowing this train down, I'm telling you. People can try to derail this thing. Ain't happening. Ain't happening. Too much momentum. And it's only going to grow. I'll make sure of that. All right, Mr. Nicholas Vafiades, remember I went off about this We're reporting this vote. And I challenged everybody to come on here. One individual reached out to me, Mr. Nicholas Vafiades. One out of all of them reached out. And he's a man of his word. He's on here, okay? So you're going to hear it's a Zoom recording. I hope it's better than the last one. I called Cole to try to get some help with it. But it's uninterrupted. I don't interrupt him. I let him speak, have a very few questions at the end for him, and he answers those. But he did a great job, and I give him that. And I told him I respect the shit out of him for doing it. Because first off, I'm nobody. I would deliver mail, and so he didn't owe me that. But he's been under a lot of duress, and so he talks about it, and I'll let him tell you about it, okay? But here it is. Here's my conversation with Region 2 business agent, Mr. Nicholas Vafiades, okay? And I won't be on the other side of it. I may have something next week. It's Father's Day, so I may not. I'll plan on that. But there's so many things I got to cover. I may have a brief one next Sunday. I will. I have a brief one next Sunday because there's just too much stuff that's going on I need to talk about. Okay? I love each and every one of you, and y'all know that. Even if you don't like me, I love you, and I'll fight for you, man. That's what it's all about. It's about fighting for our brothers and sisters at the end of the day. That's the only thing that matters. None of this other shit matters, man. All this shit's going to work itself out. Don't get discouraged or concerned. I'm not. I know what's coming. I know what's happening, okay? Don't get discouraged. We got this. I promise you. We got this, all right? So here it is, all right? I'm going to get off here. Mr. Nicholas Vafiades is talking about his vote, all right? We'll see y'all later. Bye. All right. I've got Mr. Nicholas Vafiades on, and I apologize to him because this has been a complete disaster trying to get my laptop to work. And so I've hopefully this is recording. And but he is on here with me all the way from the West Coast. And Mr. Vafiades took the challenge. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna come on there and talk about these charges and why I voted the way I did." So, like I said, if I ask you, tell you can come on here, you can come on here. So I'm gonna have let him have free reign on here, and he's gonna be able to say whatever he wants to say, uninterrupted. I will not interrupt him at all, and he's gonna say what he's got to say. And then on the other end of it, yeah, I may have some questions, but this is not one of those things where I took questions from anybody and I'm going to have him answer those. I had several people when it got put on social media that he was coming on here wanted me to ask questions. I'm not doing that. This is just him talking about the charges because that was the episode that I was talking about when I was talking about how irate I was about the charges. So he's going to come in and talk about that only. And then if I've got a few questions to ask, I'll do that. And so, Mr. Vafiades, you on here?
I'm on. Yep.
Thank God. So that's the biggest hurdle. and thank you to Cole Billups who has helped me with this. But I'm telling y'all, this has been a disaster. We were supposed to start 27 minutes ago, and I could not get this thing. So, all right, it's all yours. If you want to introduce yourself, tell who you are, and then get right to it, my man. All right.
We'll do. All right. Like Corey said, my name's Nick Vafiades. I'm the National Business Agent in Region 2. My region is Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, and Montana. I listened to Corey's episode. There was no doubt I was listening after the vote on the charges that I was going to listen to that episode. So I want to say right up front, I'm kind of walking on through a minefield here about talking about the report and I'm talking about the committee report, not the Weir report. I'm going to talk about it in generalities. Can't get into specifics yet. I wish I could talk about it I wish it was in front of both me and Corey at this point, so we could talk about it, but it has not been put out. And the executive council, we have an agreement that we won't talk about it until if and when it gets released in specific. So I'm going to do my best not to do any of that. I have heard a rumor that David Noble has the committee report. I don't know that to be true. Corey, I don't know if you've seen that or not, but I have not seen what Mr. Noble has, nor has anybody I know seen or heard from. I haven't heard from anybody who's seen it. So whether that is the committee report, I have no idea. The due process is still in effect, right? Until this whole thing is over, these people still have a right to due process. So we'll deal with that when it's all said and done. Listen to Corey, listening to your podcast after the vote. Pretty much what I expected to hear, right? There was no surprise. I was surprised to hear the names named that quickly after the vote, but that's fine. And you asked for a member of the executive council to come on and explain why they did what they did. And I know coming on here and saying why I did what I did and explaining, I'm going to give you my rationale for what I did. I have no expectation that that's going to change anybody's opinion of the charges or anybody's opinion of the vote. But I think at least I have an obligation to the members in my region. This is just me personally, to tell them this is why I did what I did. They voted for me to be in this position to make these votes. I did it. I have to answer to them. And we have a contender for the belt. That you came up with that, Corey. I will say I hope this is my one and only podcast. I'm not a guy who really enjoys public speaking. I'm not a clack the bottles type guy. I said that right?
That's right.
Yeah. All right. I'm not one of those guys, but when I do my speeches at rap sessions, I say what I got to say and I sit the hell down, and that's just how I do it. So I'm not coming for any belt, I tell you that. I could have stayed behind the scenes and hit in behind the secret ballot. And I'm not talking about taking no shots at anybody on the executive council. Everybody has the right to do what they want to do, keep their vote secret, or put it out there. And I'm fine with that. But I got called a coward, so I'm like, I'll do it. I'll tell you for sure. I'm going to tell you. But I will tell you one thing, an unforeseen circumstance of doing this, which I will tell you, your followers are. I will say passionate, I guess is the best way to say it. So I think we talked on Monday. I can't even post anything on social media anymore. I put a picture of Brian. That thing devolved into sexual harassment, and then people calling each other names. So I took that down. I posted a picture of the Capitol, not the normal hotel we stay at. I don't know why we didn't stay at the normal hotel. And normally when we get in there, I open my window and I'm looking at a brick wall or into another office building. This one, I got lucky, got a high floor, took a picture of it. I'm like, this is really cool. Plus, oh my God. I mean, I've been called everything because I have a picture of the Capitol from my hotel room. Staying in lush luxury hotels. Hampton Inns is my go-to. I don't know if you consider that luxury. Okay, but anyway. So, people are going to come at me because I disabled my Facebook. I got literally, Corey, hundreds of friend requests. The minute I said I was going to come on your podcast, hundreds, and it didn't stop. So I'm just like, all right. My youngest daughter graduated high school on Friday. I wasn't going to post pictures on there and have people drag me through that for my daughter. So, and that's fine. I mean, look, that comes with the position we're in. When you get elected national officer, you better be ready for some scrutiny and you better have thick skin. So that kind of stuff comes with it. But let me say this, I get it. Some people are unhappy. Hell, I'm unhappy where we're at as a union. I'm unhappy with the executive council is at this position. The union's divided. The council, everyone's suspicious of everybody else. There are some people trying to bring the council back together. I'm like, look, we got to bury this stuff. We got 2 more years that we got to work together. Unfortunately, you can't say anything to anybody on the council anymore and expect for it to be in confidence. We have executive sessions. Executive sessions, there's no notes. That's supposed to be let the council just say whatever they want to say. But any motions in those executive sessions are on the record. But that stuff also getting leaked. So that's very disappointing. I'm also disappointed that I'm spending a Sunday here defending a vote I made, but that's what I got elected to do. Make no mistake, I expect a challenger in 2026. I expect at least one. There's going to be at least one more ticket. If I had to bet, I would say there's going to be 3 tickets. And depending on Mr. Noble, there may be 4. So this 2026 is going to be wild and completely nuts. I opposed in 2018, and that got pretty ugly. So I can't imagine what having 2 or 3 other opponents is going to do. Like I said, I'm not here to besmirch any other people on the executive council. And I told Corey I'm going to talk about some specifics, and if I mention names that I've asked Corey to edit out, and he said he would. Tell you there's some people on the council who are against me doing this here today. They didn't want me to do it, and I am here only to explain my decision, the way I saw it, not speaking for any other members of the council. I want to make that very clear. But one thing I do want to clear up from your pod, Corey, was you talked about Charlie Heege, and this isn't talking about any business. It was just a comment you made that Charlie voted for the question before there was any discussion. That wasn't true. He called for the question. There had been some discussion, and I saw his point. What it basically came down to was, let's say I'm just throwing Mac Giuliano's name out there. If Mac spoke, and then somebody, myself or whoever, would raise their hand, they'd speak next, and they'd say, I agree with what Mac said, and then they would repeat what Mac said. So we were kind of stuck in that cycle. So there was discussion before that. So I just wanted to clear that up, that Charlie was not trying to shut that down. So I want to, before I get started on what I'm going to say, is I listen to your podcast from time to time, still do. When the training pods were really, really good, I suggested them to people. You should listen to 8 Arbitration. Corey Walton does a great job. And now, I don't do that anymore, because Corey Walton's now telling everybody what a shitty job I do. So not me personally, but the executive council. So the easy thing for me to do was, it would have been the easiest thing. It would have been to vote guilty, and I'd come on here and be praised as a hero. But one thing that became very clear during this whole process is that not many people know what the process entailed. And look, I was no expert. I learned as we went too. We know very well what this process is about now. Charges have been taking up a lot of the executive council's time lately. And what I'm going to give you is my opinion of how this played out. And the biggest misconception in this whole process is that the Weir report was the be-all, end-all. That's it. The Weir report came out, vote right now. That's not how the Constitution sets this up. Now, Mr. Weir, he was in a bad position. He was investigating the president on charges filed by a member of the executive council, right? And during the Weir report, nothing's under oath. He has conversations with these people on the phone or in person. They give their side of what happened, their opinion, but none of it under oath. And he's charged to give his opinion on the charges to the executive council, and the executive council then will vote whether these charges are substantial enough to impanel a panel of 3 disinterested people. So the Weir report is for the executive council's use only. And as you know, the council voted that 4 of the 8 charges were substantial enough that they should require further investigation. 2 withdrawn. Okay, that vote on whether or not the charges are substantial enough was not a guilty vote towards President Renfroe. No one on the council at that point is saying he is guilty of violating this charge. It's simply moving forward with an investigation, right? And having a hearing in accordance with the Constitution. And this testimony for the panel will be under oath. It's no longer a phone conversation with opinions, rumors, innuendos, and unsubstantiated facts. This is actual testimony sworn testimony. Mr. Weir had to use the opinions of others to draw his conclusion. His was much more informal. And in my understanding, some of the stuff in the Weir report didn't stand up once the person was put on the stand under oath. And there was multiple days of hearing. I think I don't want to quote how many there were because I don't remember. And in my opinion, Mr. Weir did what he was asked to do. And the person that the leak was most unfair to, in my opinion, was Mr. Weir. I don't think he had any intention that this was going to go as wild as it did. And I don't know. I mean, I'm speculating here. I have not spoken to Mike Weir. I don't know Mike Weir. I met him briefly when he was there when we got his report. But the be all end all to the actual vote on guilt, not guilty in the penalty phase, right? That is the panel report, right? That's what the executive council has seen. And that's on page 45 of the Constitution. And one thing I find really curious about this is that has not been leaked yet, right? The Weir report came out, but then the one, and everybody thought that was it. Mike Weir has spoken, the council's got to vote, he's got to be found guilty on these charges. That's just not how it's set up in the Constitution. This report is the one from the panel, is the one that the executive council is did vote on. I've been accused of not reading the charges, and my response to that is I have read the charges, and to my knowledge, no one outside the executive council has read those charges. They've read the Weir report, but it's not the same, and that's very important for context. Is the difference between what Mr. Weir was asked to do and what the panel did. And I'll tell you, in the panel, as an RAA, I think, or an LBA, I spent some time with Myra Warren. I know Myra. I know Brian Hellman. I do know him. I've spent time with them. I think they were excellent choices. They have integrity. I don't know Mr. Weiner, but I hear good things about him. So as far as the panel, I think it was a great panel. They were reasonable, and they made the decisions they did. So my reasons for doing what I did, right? The main issue for me is only two reasons in the Constitution you can uphold charges in the Constitution. Only two. One is a violation of the Constitution, and two is neglect of duty. There's nothing else you can find somebody guilty of on charges under the Constitution, right? Some inappropriate behavior. I get the argument that people make. Well, that goes against the promote the welfare of the National Association of Letter Carriers and its members in the oath of office. I get that. I think it's a stretch for some of these. All right, but let's get to the meat of it, Corey. The first charge in the fourth, in my opinion, the first and the fourth charges are almost exactly the same, right? The leave of absence during negotiations. In the fourth one was about him missing the rap sessions, right? I don't believe that is a violation of the Constitution. There is a procession listed in the Constitution if the president cannot fulfill his duties, right? And is it a neglect of duty? I don't believe that to be true either. This highlights something I think that's important for all regions, national branches, that you've got to be careful on who you vote for. You don't just vote for somebody because they're on the ticket, one ticket or another, right? You got to vote for competency and not popularity, because something like this happens. So Brian had to step away. I get why Chris was mad. But if you read the Constitution, the vice president is the director of collective bargaining, right? And then also in the Constitution, the very first line of the vice president's duties is shall preside in the absence of the president. So this is what happened. The president decided to step away. The executive vice president took over, and Paul kept the ship running. I don't think we really missed a beat with Paul. So, excuse me. In my opinion, Missing time during the very beginning of contract negotiations is way better than missing time when it's getting down near the end. I believe, and I thoroughly believe this. We could have started bargaining 2 years ago, and we'd be no closer to a contract than we are right now. We'd be in the same spot. The Postal Service had no intention of giving us a fair contract. My opinion, if they would have given us, they wanted us to fight for the same stuff we've been getting in the past, 1.1, 1.3. That's so I don't agree with that. But the biggest thing for me in charge one is the ADA, the FMLA, in the provisions of Article 35, which I get. Article 35 is not really applicable to NALC employees of the NALC, but it's language we bargain for, and you either believe in it or you don't. I know myself, I have argued this in grievances. I've won grievances based on Article 35. I've won grievances based on FMLA, serious medical conditions. And like it or not, alcoholism's covered under the ADA. Those are two laws, right? And you can't use Article 35, FMLA, in the Americans with Disability Act only when it fits your purposes. You can't not use it if it doesn't fit your narrative, right? It's there. You got to deal with it. So to me, he was covered to take this leave of absence. Now, I have no, my opinion, the president, I think he's on record as saying this, he was starting to have serious health problems that he needed to get taken care of. And he finally realized he needed to address his issues, right? So instead of letting it drag on, and, I think I've heard people say, he was getting worse and worse. Okay, well, he stopped it right then and addressed it. Was the timing great? No, of course not. Of course the timing was not great. But the timing of these charges, one thing that always irritated me was when these charges were filed. To me, these charges, if you're serious about these charges, you should have filed them while he was doing this, right? While he was missing these meetings, while he was allegedly not coming to work, which there are logs in the Weir report where he showed him that I was at work. And also, I don't believe there was no one knew where he was. That's just not even possible. So the head of the NALC goes missing and nobody knows where he is. I just don't see how that could happen. As far as I'm concerned, as far as my knowledge of this, I don't think I ever had a text message, a phone call, or an email that the president didn't return during this whole period, right? And the charges being filed after he elected to address his issue, to me, that just didn't sit well with me. He's using this right under FMLA and the ADA and to get this addressed, and then we're going to file charges on him. The second one, spreading false, misleading information. I don't believe that he was guilty of this, the actual charge itself. So in my opinion, and I think what we would argue, if say in an arbitration, and was, okay, you got to prove he believes this to be true. How are you going to tell him that this is false and misleading? He was told what he was told, right? From these other people and according to Brian, and I have no way to verify this, and I think some of the people actually stated that he went to them for advice. This is another unprecedented type of thing on the executive council. I've never heard of accusations like this before. And then I think it's out there that the rumors started spreading in California. I don't believe that anybody said they heard or the rumor was started by Brian. And I'll tell you, we had a WebEx after Brian went into rehab. We had a WebEx, and Paul was going on and on about doing investigations on your own and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, what is he talking about? I had no idea. I was clueless what he was talking about. I'm like, damn, did I do something wrong? I think, and I had a couple phone calls with a couple of business agents after that too, and they're like, yeah, I thought he was talking to me too, because I had an issue with one of my employees right around that time, a former employee here, that I wasn't investigating, but I was taking notes on and sending to HR. So I was thinking, damn, I messed up. But then the person who was accused got started on the WebEx and just told everybody what happened. And it was like, well, there you go. And the other thing for this one, the last thing for this one was, if you're going to say it is a violation of the Constitution to spread a rumor, man, we may never get done with charges. Never, right? I mean, spreading the rumor, that's too slippery a slope for me to go down. The DUI, right? So I think everybody knows this is the one that the Executive Council upheld. This is the charge that was upheld out of the 4 that were voted on. I get the argument, and the only argument that could stand up in this to be a violation of the Constitution is the oath to guard all property placed in my charge, right? My struggle here is the obvious. It's 6 years. 6 years later, this charge is stale. There is not. I don't know how you go back 6 years. You did this 6 years ago, especially after he went to rehab. And I think the last I heard, and don't quote me on this, but he was 379 days or so sober when this vote happened, right? He's not drinking anymore. He's fixed his problem. He's been sober for over a year. And then we're going to come at him with this charge. Now, if this charge was before he went to rehab or while he was still drinking, and you could make the assumption that, hell, maybe he still is drinking and driving, then there would have been some teeth there. But to come back 6 years later and charge somebody with a DUI, that just doesn't make any sense to me. The NALC, there's talk that the NALC was at risk by this happening. I don't know if people know this, but all the people that drive the regional vehicles, you have to have insurance, your own insurance, to drive these vehicles. What if you're not in the performance of your duties? So had he gotten a wreck, his insurance would have had to pick it up. It wouldn't have been the NLC insurance. And then we hear all the what if. Well, he could have killed somebody. Well, he could have done this. Well, he could have done that. I mean, that's the first thing we attack at arbitration. No, I don't know what ifs. What happened? We want the facts. Okay. So I just couldn't wrap my head around this whole thing, right? I thoroughly do not believe that President Renfroe was the first national officer to get a DUI. I don't know this for a fact, but I've heard, and this isn't a rumor, this is just me saying something. I've heard there's been other national officers that have had several DUIs, right? So I get it, I want to try to hold them to a higher standard. And, I just think the hypocrisy of it all. And here's why I say this. Now look, I know there's national officers who do not drink, period. But I think, and I know I've witnessed some national officers having a couple of drinks or two at a function, whether they're getting in the NALC vehicle and driving back to the hotel or getting in the rental car and driving back to the hotel. It's happening. And for people who have done it, it's like, what are you doing? Right. So I didn't like that. So I voted not guilty on that. Charge 4, the abandonment of position and dereliction and neglect. It definitely was an abandonment. He intended to return, and he in fact did return. And I don't, like I said up front, I don't see the difference between charge 1 and charge 4. Now, charge 1 was about, being absent during the contract negotiations, and charge 4 was missing the regional assemblies. Oh, I get it. As a business agent, believe me, I get it. Touting that the president's going to be at your regional assembly and he doesn't come. I get the difficulty he put those regions in, but both were due to his disease and his deteriorating health because of his disease and not taking care of it. So again, those fall under the ADA and the FMLA, and you either have to buy into the ADA and the FMLA or not, but they're law and you have to listen to them. And like I said, his reason was, his physical or mental ailments that prevented him from going. Corey, I've heard you say this. That, and I know people have said this, that's a lie, and he's a liar. But that's what addicts do. They lie. And so that was my position on all four of those. Had President Renfroe not successfully completed rehabilitation, or had these charges come out before he had completed rehabilitation, I think the vote may have been different. Could very well have been different. But I'll say this to you. The leak of the Weir report was intentional, and it was done intentionally to influence the vote of the executive council. But that's not what we were voting on. So releasing that, it harmed, in my opinion, it harmed due process, right? I think all the business agents were contacted and told, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. But we weren't voting on that. I know this isn't going to change anybody's mind. And I think to call the executive council cowards for voting the way we saw and how we saw it, I don't think that was fair. I get it. I didn't listen to the next episode, but I get it. You were pissed, and that came through very clearly how mad you were. But in the other double-edged sword that I want to talk about is everybody always tells we're all just letter carriers, even including the national offices of business agents, and we're all just letter carriers. But then we got to hold some letter carriers to a higher standard. We're either all letter carriers and we're all the same, or we're not. We don't let management get away with holding stewards or branch presidents to higher standards. So, I'll tell you, I got told by a lot of people, don't do this, don't go on there. It's gonna be a shit show. And looking back at my social media and getting screenshots from people of I didn't even know what he's got. You got Reddit, and there's another one out there. Discord, is that it? I didn't even know that existed. Yeah, I'm getting drug on that, and look, I fully expect I'm gonna get drug on this when it's over. But that, like I said, that's part of the job. But with all that being said, and all the charges that are being filed like constant now, that the executive council has to deal with, we're getting the business of the NALC done. The executive council isn't, and that's a credit to my colleagues. That look, we're working through this. We got a divide. We got clashes here and there, and but to their credit, we're still getting the business of the NALC done. And the blowback of this in 2026, Corey, I'm back there carrying mail in Longview, Washington. Fine. I mean, that's the way it goes, man. I love carrying mail. And if I have to do it for the last year of my career, I'm all for it, man. So anyway, hey, I appreciate you having me on. Oh, you got questions for me?
I got a few.
Okay.
First off, I appreciate you coming on. I know when you said you was, I was like, I bet the executive council, some members are probably not too happy about that. But I do appreciate you coming on. And when you said I asked for a member, I wanted all of them. I wanted all the members who voted against these charges to come on here. And I felt like the members deserve that. You read the Weir report, right?
I did.
Okay. Did you read the Weir report before? I think y'all met on a Friday for the charges, to vote on the charges. Is that correct? Do you remember?
I don't remember, no.
I don't either. I think you met. So did you read the report before you went to Washington to vote? Or did y'all read them that day?
We were at them in the room.
The day of the vote?
Yeah.
So you read the Weir report, and then also you said the Weir report was kind of a formality. The Weiner report is it Weiner report? That's the one, right?
No, I don't think
that's the panel report.
It's necessary. The Weir report, yes.
Yeah.
It's not a formality. No.
Yeah, and the Weiner report is the panel report. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
well, yeah, I don't. Go ahead. I've only read it the one time. I don't remember if it's signed the Weiner report. I don't remember what it's called.
I believe so. One thing I do take exception to is when I was talking about how dishonest Renfroe is, and to me, and this is and nobody, this is not a surprise. He's the most dishonest president we've ever had that I can remember. And I've been doing this 30 years. I've never met anybody more dishonest. And that's me speaking. And you said that it was, he was doing what addicts do and he's being dishonest. The Weir report came out during, you said he's been sober for 365 days. The Weir report came out much later when he was supposed to have been sober. And he was dishonest in that still. And that was what I was taking exception to. You talk about arbitration, how, we defend these things. And I've said that vigorously on here. We do defend that beast of alcoholism or any kind of drug addiction. Absolutely. And I've said that over and over again. Matter of fact, I said, set the alcoholism aside. That is what it is. And I hope and pray that he does get that corrected. It's the post-charge conduct. The charges came out. Mr. Jackson asked that they be investigated. When Weir went to him and talked to him about these things, to me, he was still dishonest. Matter of fact, Mr. Weir said that in his report. Mr. Renfroe's not being truthful when he said these things. This was during that period of time you said that he was sober. That's the problem that I have. Now, if y'all didn't take that into consideration when y'all voted, that is what it is. But I just have a problem with the president of the NALC. I do believe that they should be held to a higher standard. You say he's still a city letter carrier. He was barely a city letter carrier. He wasn't a city letter carrier for long. And then he rode Luke Goodgrass's coattails up to national. And but I do think that when the Weir report came out, it was his post-charge conduct, his inability still to tell the truth. I think that's what chapped a lot of people's asses. Now, I get what you're talking about, in the Constitution, you have to go by this thing and that thing. But I do believe that those things should have been considered. Now, y'all probably couldn't consider those because of how the charges work. But this guy was sober when he was being untruthful to Weir. And I took exception to that because to me, if you're going to say, I'm sober now, I'm going to blame everything that I ever did on alcoholism. When Weir is investigating you, you say, when I got the DUI, I was drunk. I was. You don't say the cops were still wrong. That shows either narcissism or you just don't get it. Even with the Susie Miller, the one that y'all didn't decide to bring forward when he called her a bitch, he still refuses to acknowledge that. That's my problem. That my president, who I do believe should be held to the highest of standards, that's what I want as a city letter carrier when I look at my president, that he be held to that highest of standards. I don't think that that's inappropriate or unfair. I believe that when you get that position, I believe you would think that you should be held to a higher standard as a business agent. I would think, I don't know. But that was one of the problems that I had. Even with the leave of absence, you're talking about that. When Weir was talking about he was just AWOL. And he was showing the door codes and stuff like that where he hadn't even been in the office when he said he was. And then when you had missing the rap sessions, and that was due to his alcoholism. And he was saying that it was because it's deteriorating health. But it wasn't that. It was the fact that in one occasion, he said he was going to go visit his father, who was incredibly ill, only to find out he didn't do that. And so I think that was the problem that a lot of people are having is it's just the dude just can't be truthful. Even with the false and misleading things, I get that. But there either is a protocol or there's not on how those things are handled. Is the protocol to go to 7 different people and tell what you've heard and seek guidance, or is the protocol to go to human resources? If that's the protocol, then he didn't follow it, and he damaged people because of that. He damaged the individual that the allegations are against. Mr. Weir, if you read that report, even talked about some of the females in national said they will never come forward because of Mr. Renfroe's actions due to that one thing where he didn't follow the proper protocol. I don't know if those things are considered when you do the charges.
Hey, Corey. And so
Yeah.
just real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Some of the stuff you're talking about is going to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
Now, remember, we don't vote on the Weir report. We vote on the one handed to us by the committee. And
right.
a lot of some of this stuff, and I'm not going to say much, but some of this stuff's going to be contradicted, and some of it's not even going to be in there. Right.
Gotcha.
And so the protocol. Oh, we all know what the protocol is now. Believe me, brother. I mean, that is a solid fact right now.
Yeah.
I think some of your concerns about the AWOL and all of that. You have to keep in mind it is the committee report that we voted on.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I hear you. I hear what you're saying about the most dishonest. I don't have. That's not the relationship I have with him. To my knowledge, he's never flat out lied with me. And I think some of the issue that Mr. Weir took, I think it was, and maybe splitting hairs a little bit about was he convicted of the DUI? Because was he convicted? I don't think he was. I think it was a deferment program or something, so there was no actual conviction. So I think it was kind of splitting hairs, and that's where the disagreement was. But look, I get it. You have the experience. He lies to you. I don't think he lies to me. I mean, that's the way it goes.
Right. I get it. But Mr. Weir was charged with investigating that by Mr. Barner, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then so Mr. Weir, he has no skin in the game.
Correct.
Thing. And so he goes and he investigates, and then he tells, based off of my investigation, this is what I have found. This one here is proven to be true. And it's based off of these things. It's based off of this witness testimony. And you say that some of these things didn't hold up under cross-examination, and maybe that'll come out later. I've had the Weiner report for several weeks, but have been asked not to read that. So yeah, I've had that, and I have not talked about it. But that's the issue, I believe. And secondly, and you're going to disagree with me, and that's fine. I think that every carrier should have access to Weir report. I think that every carrier should have access. I know you say that it tainted the process somehow. Obviously not, because only one charge stood up, so it didn't taint it too damn bad.
Well, Corey, I don't disagree with you that the members at some point should have a right to all this. I don't think they should. The Weir report, because of the damage, I think it damaged Brian's right to a fair and to a fair hearing and due process. I thoroughly believe that. Okay, when everything's done, and look, if there's appeal to the convention or whatever goes on, all that stuff's got to come out. It has to.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it. Let it out, but let it out at the appropriate time. And yeah, I'm all for it. I think the members should get to read it.
Yeah. Did you tell your members that you're voting against the charges before you went that Friday to vote?
I did not, because I hadn't read the report.
Okay. Because there were some things coming out that in a rap session or something that you had told them you're voting against the charges before you even went down and saw the Weir report or the Weiner report, or as you call it, the panel report. So that's not true.
No.
Okay. That's just one of the things that was told to me. So I want to make sure on air we cleared that up, because I think that would have been a disservice. But
yeah, no, I agree with you. If somebody has that I did that, I would be very curious to hear that.
Yeah. But anyway, again, hey, I appreciate you coming on here. I was mad as hell, and I still am. And I feel the way I feel. My union has gone to shit right now. And I think we got the worst leadership in our history. And by the things that are coming out, the things that are letting to go on across this country, I've never seen it as bad as it is today. And I don't want your response. I'm just saying
But
that.
I'll give you one. Let me give you one. You take
Okay.
this situation with the president out of the way, and I think I told you this in our phone conversation. There's a lot we agree on. Now, there's some we don't, but
Yeah.
there's a lot we. But the issue with our president, we're just not going to get there, brother. We're just not going to get to agreement on that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. But like I say, when you're an advocate, arbitration advocate, I'm an arbitration advocate. I get the Weir report and I look at that and I studied that thing forever before I read it. And to me, I've had a neutral individual say these are my findings, and it was despicable to me. It was absolutely reprehensible. The things that I read and how my president was acting. To me, I said this already to you, you probably get tired of this, but to me, if you're sober and everything that happens, every single thing that happened, we're going to blame on alcoholism. And I said this before the charges were even voted on. I said, watch and see what happens. They're going to dismiss all this. They're going to put it all on alcoholism, which is fine. If everything is going to be just kind of brushed away as alcoholism and he's sober, I think that the Weir report would have been different. I think that Mr. Weir would have said, Mr. Renfroe acknowledged this. He is deeply remorseful for this. He attributes all of this to alcoholism, and he is sober now, and all of us could rejoice for that. It was his defiance, even in the Weir report. That's what did it for me. And so I understand the charges, how you handle those as far as the Constitution. I get that. And so y'all base the things, even the DUI, the things with the misleading stuff, I would never get over that because you were completely inappropriate in how you handled that on that gentleman. Completely inappropriate. And that would have done it for me. And I've said that long ago. That's just something you don't do. You don't do that to an individual. I would never do that to you, and I don't even know you. We've talked a few times, but if somebody came to me with that, I wouldn't tell 7 or 8 different people what I heard about you. It's seeking advice. You'd say that now we do know the proper protocol. Well, this motherfucker's the president. He should know the proper protocol, and the proper protocol isn't disseminating all this stuff between 7 or 8 people. We can keep doing this all day long, brother. I know you're spending your Sunday on something you don't even want to do. But I'll end it with that. Look, I appreciate you, my man. I do. And I love you for doing that, for representing carriers. I'll always respect the shit out of anybody who represents my brothers and sisters. And I can tell you that I love you. I was mad as fuck, man. I was mad as hell at this stuff. And I still am, but I respect the shit out of you for coming on here. You can call me anytime. You know my number. And hopefully we can meet in Boston. But you didn't clack the bottles.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Hey, if you want to come back on another time, man, and take a shot at the title, man, I'm always here. I'm always here.
Yeah, all right.
Hey, out of everybody, and I'm sure some say, who in the hell is Corey Walton? Why would I ever go on there? And that's fine too. But out of everybody, you were the only one who said, hey, not me. You're not gonna call me that, you son of a bitch. I'm gonna come on there and talk about it. So I respect the hell out of you for that. All right, my friend.
I appreciate it, Corey.
Hey, you have a good rest of the Sunday, and I'll talk to you later. Come holler at me in Boston.
All right, brother, you got it.
All right, my man. We'll see you.